En partant aux États-Unis d'Amérique, aux USA, voilà, donc vous avez... je ne sais pas du tout par cœur. Vous avez créé le bureau d'études que vous dirigez, spécialisé dans la conservation, entre autres, dans la conservation des routes historiques et des routes pittoresques. Alors nous vous écoutons.
Bonjour, good afternoon.
Bonjour, j'espère que vous avez eu votre café. Les routes de la mémoire aux États-Unis. Je voulais en fait replacer les États-Unis dans le contexte des mémoriaux. J'écoutais plutôt hier le discours de M. Macron à l'Arc de Triomphe et je regardais donc justement l'importance de l'armistice qu'on appelle le Veterans Day aux États-Unis d'ailleurs, parce que la mémoire de la Première Guerre mondiale aux États-Unis n'est pas ressentie de façon aussi forte, aussi intense qu'en Australie, au Royaume-Uni ou bien en France. Et bon, ma perception, je vais essayer de vous la présenter par rapport donc à la Première Guerre mondiale, la réaction également par rapport donc à la culture américaine. Voilà ce que je vais essayer de faire. Donc vous avez en fait une image ici qui représente donc un mémorial d'une part et d'autre part un cimetière. C'est à Indianapolis. C'est donc un mémorial qui a été inauguré en 1902, donc avant le début de la Première Guerre mondiale, et qui portait sur la guerre de sécession, guerre d'indépendance plutôt. C'est en fait un des plus gros édifices au Royaume-Uni. C'est en fait un rappel constant donc, de la dévastation causée par la guerre civile aux États-Unis. En 1921, donc juste après la fin de la Première Guerre mondiale, il y avait encore un certain nombre de grands mémoriaux pour les vétérans. Alors que se passe-t-il aux États-Unis? Que se passait-il aux États-Unis juste avant la Première Guerre mondiale? Eh bien, juste avant, nous avons connu donc la guerre civile, 1861-1865. De nombreux historiens l'ont qualifiée de première guerre moderne dans le monde. Première fois que l'on utilise la reconnaissance aérienne avec des montgolfières pour surveiller l'avancée des troupes. Avec le télégraphe, évidemment, le train s'est développé, les fournitures, munitions, les troupes ont été déplacées également beaucoup plus rapidement que lors des guerres précédentes. Première utilisation également d'un sous-marin, des armes de destruction massive modernes, y compris d'ailleurs des armes chimiques. Et enfin, sur la dernière photo, vous pouvez voir également que la photographie de guerre a permis également donc, à tout le monde de comprendre ce qui se passait précisément. Donc le romantisme de la guerre est tout à coup devenu très cru pour les civils. Voici donc les États-Unis après cette guerre civile. Virginie, donc...
This is a factory and railway in Atlanta, Georgia.
Qui fabriquait des trains.
Railway station in Charleston, South Carolina.
En Caroline du Sud, à Charleston.
In Charleston, South Carolina, after the war. It's major devastation and destruction, particularly in the southern part of the United States. There's a loss of cultural patrimony as well. This is the oldest Episcopal church in North America. It was largely destroyed during the war as well.
Détruite quasiment intégralement donc pendant la guerre civile.
620,000 war dead
620 000 morts
during the 4 years of the war in the United
au cours
States.
de ces 4 années de guerre.
116,000 dead
116
during
000
World War I.
morts durant la Première
So you can see
Guerre
there's a very
mondiale.
different
Donc,
context in terms of sense of loss and the domestic impact of the war
et
on the United States.
l'impact national évidemment de la guerre civile.
And like many wars, we began
Dans le cadre
trying
de
to
nombreuses
memorialize and
guerres,
understand even
rendre
before
les
it ends.
choses inoubliables, immortelles.
This is the Gettysburg National Cemetery. Many of you may be familiar with Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, a very important document in American history. which was to dedicate a cemetery on a battlefield.
Qui a été conçu
and we began developing cemeteries immediately before the war was over. This is one in the 1860s in Mississippi. And one of the previous speakers mentioned Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C. Arlington Cemetery began as a Civil War cemetery outside of the Capitol for the war dead in Washington, D.C. Cemeteries happen right away. Memorialization of the war takes a while longer. And I think this is very important context. This is the memorial in New York City, which is dedicated in 1902. There was a long delay about what was appropriate, who was going to pay for it, where it should be located, typical things that we find with a memorial. The memorial in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, one of the largest constructed to recognize the Civil War, dedicated in 1910. And in 1912, just 2 years before World War I begins, they dedicate the memorial in the city of Philadelphia. So you can see, as war is beginning in Europe, the United States is just finishing its views of its own war, of Civil War. So in 1914 the war begins, the United States doesn't enter the war until 1917. We know that story. Armistice Day, and then a brand new war to figure out how to honor, how to recognize, and how to memorialize. I suggest to you that memorial trees, memorial avenues, memorial allées were well timed with America at this period right after World War I. Based on our culture, based on our own Civil War, and based on changes in the American landscape during this period. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for memorial allées to be considered. Once again, there was a sense of loss. And as one of the speakers just mentioned a moment ago too, in Canada, the loss of youth, young men and young women going off to war. So this is again the sense of having just buried and recognized people from the Civil War, and now another young generation is being lost as well. African American troops as well. These are some African American unit marching toward Verdun in 1918. And you can see them walking down the avenue here. As we've been hearing today, the idea of these avenues in the landscape and the memories of the soldiers with those landscapes of trees. American Forestry magazine. Trees will be in their very greenness and robust strength, reminders of the youth who gave their vigor to win the war. So the idea of trees recognizing young people, again, if we just look back, we spend a lot of time and money building stone memorials.
Mis énormément d'argent et de temps d'ailleurs dans la construction de ces
we want to think about something different this time going forward.
Et cette fois-ci, donc on va décider de fonctionner autrement.
So, American Forestry magazine, Roads of Remembrance, and they began talking about this very early on in terms of ways to recognize the American soldiers in World War I. And I share this with you. The American Expeditionary Forces received many impressions of Europe unrelated to war. One of the most prominent and important of such impressions was the striking beauty of the French highways. Wherever the American doughboy traveled in France, he almost always found the highways lined with trees. Trees that adorned the landscape and added a pleasing diversity to the endless kilometers. The American brought back the picture of this feature of the French countryside, and it will never fade from his mind. This is the argument for memorial trees in the United States. It's an impression, it's a memory of Europe that's unrelated to war. So it's a favorable memory of the place where our soldiers came. It can be brought back that's not related to the war.
Associé à la guerre, qui n'a pas de lien direct
it's avec permanent and important, which is what all memorials should be, permanent and important.
Un mémorial doit être en fait important et permanent.
Trees that adorn the landscape. It's an object, it's an element in the landscape that makes it more beautiful in terms of memory and honor.
de mémoire, notamment, ou de souvenirs.
And it will never fade from his mind. It's permanent, it's lasting, we will always remember.
C'est-à-dire que c'est ce dont on va se rappeler de façon permanente.
The first city to develop a memorial alley was Cleveland, Ohio, and it began a year before the war ended. Cleveland was one of the largest cities in the United States during this period. It was growing rapidly, wealthy, and that's Cleveland's recently dedicated Civil War Memorial in 1894.
On a inauguré donc le mémorial de la guerre.
This, I think, works well in terms of what's happening with the American city during this period. American cities are growing, population is growing, and American cities are establishing metropolitan park areas. These are park plans, not just putting a single park like Central Park, but looking at connected parks
comme le Central Park à New York, par exemple, ce sont tous des parcs qui sont en fait reliés les uns aux autres.
that follow the course of rivers and streams, that connect to larger park areas. The spaces between the narrow lines are called parkways, narrow strips of parkland that connect to larger parks. This idea of these metropolitan plans is being developed right around the time of World War I.
Au moment de la Première Guerre mondiale.
And you can see here in Cleveland, one of the parkways here, which was North Park Boulevard, gets rededicated as Liberty Road
a été donc
in 1918
ouverte en 1918
with a series of memorial oaks
avec toute une série de
for the soldiers from Cleveland that fought in World War I.
Des soldats de Cleveland qui ont
The oaks were dedicated,
la Guerre mondiale.
and each oak had a bronze plaque with the name of the soldier who had died in the war.
Soldats avec une petite plaque en bronze pour rappeler donc leur destin.
This was not only a nice memorial opportunity, but because it was in the park system, it was in the larger context of a green and permanent place that was always going to be growing and thriving, going back to the idea of trees, growth, and recognizing youth.
Et on fait évidemment référence donc à la reconnaissance de la jeunesse.
Similar in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, in the north central part of the United States, large industrial city,
donc une ville plutôt industrielle,
but also with a very sophisticated park plan that they started doing in the 1890s. This is one of the parkways that connects the park system. Usually the parkways had drives in them. And this is the plan for the Cleveland system, just like you saw, I'm sorry, for Milwaukee. Just like you saw in Cleveland, there's a series of linear routes connecting larger park areas in Minneapolis, protecting the existing lakes and the landscape.
Et les lacs aussi qui parsèment le paysage.
And this one area of the park system, the parkway, was dedicated as Victory Memorial Drive for World War I. And you can see here the plan for the Memorial Drive. Very formal, rows of trees connecting to larger park areas, and then signature spaces here, this very important turn right here. Right there. So construction, then the dedication of Victory Memorial Drive. General Pershing came to the dedication. And here you can see Victory Memorial Drive today. The little trees that line the way, sad symbols of a nation's pride, are etched against the wintry gray. Oh, let them live for those who died. Cleveland is a very cold, snowy city. It's a perfect poem for this. So Cleveland and Minneapolis are leading the way. And American Forestry magazine is encouraging Americans in large cities and small cities to invest in trees to remember the war dead. And you can see in this article here, not only they talk about trees and list famous people who are supporting the effort, here including the President of the United States at the time, William Howard Taft, and then examples from newspapers around the United States encouraging communities to go out and plant trees. And these are some of the examples of trees that are being planted during the period. Trees on a boulevard in a small town in Illinois. A single memorial tree planted along the Brunswick Pike in New Jersey. And a memorial pin oak from the state of George Washington, our first president, planted in Washington, D.C. So lots of layers of symbolism. So you see the idea of memorial roads and the park systems making sense. The other thing happening during this period is the construction of modern roads in the United States because of the automobile. And an article called Civilization's Highways notes that, shall we have them as streaks of concrete against the
On faisait la
across the
différence
country, blistering in the sun,
entre le béton et les routes.
a typical highway, a typical road. We're showing make them roads of remembrance.
Qui allait traverser les
So
États-Unis
this article goes on to talk about the fact
et
that
cet article explique
we've been paying attention to what's been happening in Europe with the roads planted with many kinds of trees. We're familiar with these European ideas as well. But then we must not forget we're living in a new age right now, the age of the automobile. The high-powered automobile and auto truck have changed old methods of highway transportation. So we want to look to Europe for ideas about the beauty of the highway, but we're also recognizing the new speed and change of the automobile. And right before the war begins, the United States is on a major campaign to build public highways to connect a continental nation. This is a very romantic picture of the first concrete road in the United States. This is really more the reality of the roads in the United States during this period. It's very difficult. We relied on a large rail system, and it did not accommodate the automobile in long distances. So 1909 fantasy,
1909, donc on commence à rêver de
1909 reality.
La réalité, donc en 1909, c'est celle-là.
In 1916, the federal government establishes the first funding for public highways, which means we can start building highways across the United States, in all the states. However, the program was stopped immediately because of World War I, and all the monies went to the war effort and road construction stopped. But we were ready to begin after the war. One of the projects that began just before the war was the Lincoln Highway. This is the first transcontinental highway in the United States, running from New York to San Francisco, 5,400 kilometers. New York to San Francisco.
New York, San Francisco. Ce que ça représente.
And going through Pennsylvania, among other places.
Quelques branches vers la Pennsylvanie.
This is an example of that new modern concrete highway.
Le type de route en béton.
This is the type of highway that people start thinking, maybe this can be not just a new highway, but also a memorial road as well. The highway was already named for President Lincoln. The idea that the highway was linking the country like he linked the country during the Civil War. But it was more than just the Lincoln Highway. It was the new modern highway of travel. And it was a big deal. This is women's organization in Nevada, getting ready to cut the ribbon on the new highway. This was a major, major accomplishment. And being on this national highway was extraordinarily important. And people started talking right away, should there be a memorial allée from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean?
Du souvenir
York County, Pennsylvania.
L'océan Atlantique à l'océan Pacifique.
Let's go back here.
En Pennsylvanie.
Right in here, okay? York County, Pennsylvania decides to take their 25-mile, 40-kilometer segment of the highway in that county and dedicate it as some road of remembrance to the young men and women who died from York County. Local women's organization, as we've heard earlier, women were very involved with this. They put out a call for people to buy trees and organize the whole effort. You can see here, they're located on East Market Street. This is where the women were located, right on the Lincoln Highway. So the idea of being physically on the Memorial Road where their offices were. And here you can see the dedication of the Women's Club of York on 30th May 1922. This is in Wrightsville in York County, Pennsylvania, and that's where the arrow is, right there.
Voilà donc l'endroit où il se trouve.
1,500 memorial trees were planted. They cost $2.50 each, which today would be about $30.54, 64 cents. And to finish my last slide, this is the plaque that is at each end of the county. Lest we forget, This highway for 25 miles eastward across York County was planted with trees by the people of York County and dedicated to them to be forever a road of remembrance in honor of their sons and daughters who served in the World War 1917 to 1918. I think it's very important here as well. Their sons and daughters. It's not just a memorial to the men, and it's the influence of the women that helped to organize this memorial. So that's a brief introduction to memorial roads in the United States for World War I, and I think the context I think is important to understand why we did them, how we did them, and our involvement with the war. With that, I say thank you. Merci.
Merci Dan Marriott.